Hello, everyone. Today, I'm speaking to Kylie Russell about her experience of working with cancer, about the coaching that she received from us, and what advice she would give to others about supporting anyone managing work during or after cancer treatment. Kylie is an environmental specialist and leader with over 30 years' experience across a wide range of environmental disciplines, most recently in flood and coastal risk management. So, hello, Kylie, welcome.
Hello, thank you.
Perhaps you could just start by introducing yourself and the work that you do.
Hello, yes. So my name's Kylie Russell. I'm the Deputy CEO of ADEPT, which is the Association of Directors of Environment, Economy, Planning and Transport. So we're the representative body for local authority place directors, and they're the people who are responsible for day-to-day services like local highways, recycling, waste and planning. So we're a professional membership organisation and we support them, and we look to make sure that there's sustainable growth, and we're very interested in reducing the impacts of climate change.
Wow, it's such an important area, Kylie, and good to know that people like you are working in it. Long may that continue. So look, tell us about your cancer diagnosis and treatment and how you are now.
Yes, so in 2021, my twin sister was diagnosed with breast cancer. So I'm an identical twin. I hadn't actually noticed that there were any issues at all myself, but not long after she was diagnosed, she started chemotherapy, and I thought I'd better go to the doctors and get myself checked. When I went, it was found that I also did have a lump that I wasn't aware of, and that I was then also diagnosed with breast cancer. So both myself and my twin sister went through chemotherapy. I also had a mastectomy, so it was a long sort of year in terms of treatment. I tried to work initially during that time, but eventually I had to have some time off due to a number of additional problems that I had with infections, with low iron, etc. So yeah, had a bit of time off work, but now I'm fine. I'm still on a drug it's reducing my estrogen levels, so that's to make sure that try and prevent any recurrence. But yeah, both myself and my twin sister are fine at the moment. So cross fingers, hope that continues.
Brilliant. Were you treated in the same place, Kylie?
We actually had different, so I was with NHS and my sister had private healthcare, but what they did do was make sure that we had the same oncologist and the same surgeon, because they thought that it was likely that there was a genetic link between the two of us, because we were both diagnosed exactly the same age 49. It did seem a bit of a coincidence. They did all the genetic tests, and haven't found a link yet, but they've said they'd like to look again in a few years' time when things have advanced, to find out if there is a genetic connection between our diagnosis.
That's really interesting. Are you identical twins?
Yeah, so we're absolutely identical. So when they did the blood tests on my sister, to do the genetic testing, they didn't need to do mine because we're absolutely identical. It was different though, because we had slightly different treatment. So we both had chemotherapy, but we didn't have exactly the same chemotherapy. My twin sister had triple negative breast cancer, and mine was estrogen positive breast cancer.
Right.
My twin sister was told that she couldn't use the cold cap, so she lost her hair, whereas I was able to use the cold cap. So I kept my hair, although it went a lot thinner. But I'm very pleased to say that it's back. It's now back and it's thicker. It's actually thicker than it was before. So I highly recommend the cold cap. And my sister has got beautiful, really curly hair, having lost her hair. It's grown back curly. So we look a little bit different now.
Interesting, really interesting. We won't get too ensconced in that at the moment, because I think it's a really interesting area about twins and their illnesses and how much they're the same or not. Coming back to you then, what do you think were the main challenges that you faced in managing your work in cancer? Kylie?
I think it was difficult for me trying to manage work in cancer because I'm a very energetic person, just naturally, and I tend to work at 100 miles an hour, like to get lots done, and it was very difficult to really slow down. And I felt guilty about taking time off work, which is ridiculous. And I kind of felt like everybody was expecting me to come back to work. Whereas actually looking back on it, I know at the time, they were just very happy for me to be having time off. So feeling guilty about not being able to do enough. Coming back to work, I felt I came back to work too soon. I actually delayed it compared to when I'd said I'd be back because there was no way I could start. I came back on a phased return, which was excellent, but I wish I'd come back slightly later, given myself a bit more time off, and actually done the phased return even slower. So I came back to work 3 days a week, and actually I was exhausted by the end of those 3 days. Going from not working to 3 days a week was so much. I think one of the other things is you put pressure on yourself to be back to normal.
Yeah.
And one thing I have to say that coaching has really helped me with is understanding that you're never going to be back to normal. It's like a new normal. And I had to accept that, my energy levels weren't what they used to be. And I had to kind of recalibrate in terms of the way that I worked, and just accept that. I was also anxious about having to travel and how I'd feel with traveling with work, having to stand for long periods of time because I then started to feel dizzy so it was quite difficult initially, kind of trying to fit back into my old way of working.
So how you mentioned one area, but how do you think the coaching helped you cope with those challenges then, Kylie?
So I had coaching with Fiona Stimson, and she was absolutely fantastic. She was able to help me realise that I don't have to be back to what I used to be. I have to accept the new me. She also helped me talk to people about what I was concerned about. So in advance, actually explain that I was concerned about travelling. Initially, I didn't then have to travel at all. But then when I did travel, I set expectations before I actually went along to the meeting. Fiona was also very good at give myself permission to say, actually, I'm just going to go and sit down now, or actually, I'm going to have to leave. Actually planning in advance how you would cope with a situation if you weren't feeling that good, and making sure I told my team about it and told my line manager about it. And they were fantastic, I have to say.
It's interesting, managing expectations, your own and others, is such an important thing to do, except that sometimes one of the problems is you're not quite sure how you're going to be, so you have to sort of cover all bases, as it were, but yeah, managing your own thoughts and say no surprises is always the kind of rubric I use. Try and manage everyone's opinions and thoughts so that in a sense you're protecting yourself as well at the same time.
Yes, that's right. And the other thing that Fiona talked to me about was not projecting my thoughts onto other people. So I'm feeling guilty that I'm not working at the pace I used to. And so I think that my line manager is thinking, is disappointed that I'm not working at the pace that I used to. Whereas actually that's not true. They're just pleased that you're back and you're okay. So stop thinking that I think, oh, they think this or they think that.
Yeah.
It's actually a lot of it is what I'm thinking, and then I'm just projecting that thought onto somebody else. So that was a really helpful technique to think about.
No, very good one. So from your own experience then, what do you think, what were the things that your employer, your colleagues did or said that you found most helpful and useful at the time?
I think it was really useful to be able to be just open and honest about what was happening. Right. My line manager was brilliant at checking in with me and making sure that I was okay. They did lots of really nice things, like sending flowers and chocolates and cards and things like that, which it's nice if people are checking in with you. Some people sent me an email as well. I think sometimes people feel they don't know what to say, so they don't say anything. Whereas when somebody did reach out and just say, how are you? Just send you an email out the blue. That was lovely. And, you know, with no pressure to reply immediately and give all of the information. My workplace is fantastic in terms of time off. So they allowed me to have the time off that I needed, and they allowed me to come back phased return. They also gave me time off for medical appointments, and that is then going forward as well. The Environment Agency also has a course which is for managers who are managing people who've got cancer. Right. So they actually talk through some of those issues with people in advance, so they understand how they can best support people.
Brilliant. I mean, I think it's so important that organisations educate managers and employees about kind of what it's like to cope with cancer, and and what it's like returning to work or being at work while you're having treatment or after treatment. And organisations do that, but it's important to, you know, for more of them to do that and to refresh that training too, because it's easy. Sometimes it's just easy to forget, particularly because people often look well during cancer treatment or after cancer treatment. Sometimes people think, oh, well, it's all done now. You've had your treatment, you'll be fine. And actually, it is a long process, as you say, of finding your new normal. Yeah.
Yes. In the Environment Agency, they have a network group where you can then speak to other people who've had cancer as well. And that was fantastic. So you could put notifications on the Yammer group and ask questions, but also they put me in touch with other people who'd had breast cancer and come back to work. And that was really useful. And not actually just people who'd had breast cancer, other people with prostate cancer, and talking to them about how they felt when they first came back to work and how they then felt 6 months on was brilliant, because I felt, well, they've done it, so I can do it. You know, it's just nice to hear other people's experiences.
Yeah. No, I think it's great when organisations do that. And we've actually worked with several companies helping them to set up and support cancer networks or cancer buddy groups, whatever they're called. Brilliant. Yeah. So look, what advice or top tips would you pass on to others in your circumstances, Kylie?
One thing I think is really important is not to put too much pressure on yourself in terms of work. People absolutely understand if you need to take time off, and they absolutely understand about coming back phased return. So don't put too much pressure on yourself. Make sure you can have open and honest conversations with your line manager. And if you can't with them, try and find somebody else that you can, because that's really helpful as well. I think the other thing is to just understand that you are not going to be back to normal. You know, don't stop trying to be the person you used to be. You're slightly different now. You are going to be changed by the experience. That doesn't mean that you're not going to be back being fantastic at work and energetic at times and, you know, doing some brilliant work, but you're not necessarily going to be the same person. And that's absolutely fine. And you just need to accept that. Yeah.
No, all good advice and tips. And was there anything else you'd like to add that you feel is relevant or important for anyone listening to this interview, Kylie?
I think it's one thing I really do want to talk about actually is the ability to get some help with paying for the coaching. Yep. So I looked into the coaching and spoke to Fiona Stimson, thought it looked absolutely fantastic, spoke to yourself, Barbara, about it and thought, this sounds really great, I'd love to do this. But it was quite expensive. And I thought, all this, you know, and my workplace wasn't going to be able to pay for it. Or weren't sure they would be able to pay for it. So I applied for a access to work grant through Department for Work and Pensions. And they've actually paid for my sessions, which was brilliant. And then after my 6 sessions, they then extended the grant so I could have another 6 sessions. And even when you're starting to feel like you're absolutely fine and you're back to normal and you're better, it's still amazing how useful those coaching sessions are. So I would definitely highly recommend them to anybody, even if you think you're okay. It's worth talking to somebody, because they definitely can help you both in your work life and in your home life as well.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kylie, for mentioning Access to Work, and we'll make sure that there's a link that people can access when we post the video. That they're a great agency of the Department of Work and Pensions, a bit overworked at the moment, so
yes.
It takes a while for some of the funding to come through, but thank you very much for mentioning them. Brilliant. Look, a huge thank you, Kylie. That's been terrific. And I'm sure that many other people returning to work with or after cancer will find your advice really, really helpful. So thank you so much for sharing your experience. I just wanted to round off by saying that this interview has been recorded by Working with Cancer. And if you'd like to find out more about our work and our services, please get in touch with us, either directly via our website, or you can contact us at just putting up the slide on the screen, admin@workingwithcancer.co.uk. Kylie, thank you so much. And I hope that your words will make an enormous difference to many of the people who are dealing with all the difficulties of cancer in their lives. Thank you.